Everyone keeps complaining.
Yes.
Oh my God, and we're live. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Daily Whatever Show. I am Lawrence Winterman. Who are you?
And I am your best friend. You're
Oh,
my best friend. I'm
yay.
Dana Dubois. I realize we haven't been doing the "That's my best friend" thing, so
That's
I
my
want to
best
make it
friend.
clear. And that's my best friend. We joined talking about your audio and how people are complaining how quiet it is. Hum a few bars, Lawrence. Let's hear you. La 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 la.
Do I have to hum? It's too early to
You
hum. I
no,
haven't had enough coffee to hum
no,
yet.
you can just talk. Yeah, I haven't had any of my morning tea yet. So I'm going to take my first sip right here with all of you and say, "Good morning. How are you?"
I am okay. It is a crazy morning. Already crazy things are happening in my life. So, welcome to the world.
Uh, oh no, anything that you want to talk about here?
No, 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 not that kind of stuff. Just sort of like work related stuff, basically. So,
Oh, okay. All right,
um,
good. The
yes,
craziness
all
of,
is
and
well.
interestingly, this will be related to our topic today. Oh,
We're still
uh-oh.
stepping
Are
on
we
each
out
other.
of sync again, Lawrence? I feel like we're a little out of sync.
We are. I don't know why.
Yeah, you talk first. I'll just sit quietly. See if it catches up.
Uh, yeah, I don't know why we're out of sync. I don't know what is different. Like, why is this week different than all other weeks?
I don't know. Maybe we need to eat unleavened bread.
Right. Yes, we're supposed to be
Sorry,
eating
Jew
unleavened bread.
joke.
That's it. Solved it.
um, y-
Oh, it keeps looking like you're frozen to me. Or are
I
you
have a
thinking?
feeling that this is no. I have a feeling that this is my internet access. I am in my basement studio. It won't let me mute on the one I'm trying to open the chat, and when I do, it won't let me mute it either. I'm on Wi-Fi because I have a booster down here now, and because
Yeah.
I don't have an available plug for Ethernet, and I'm wondering if I should plug the Ethernet connection is so I'm a little more stable.
Yes, you should. 100% you should do that.
Tested this last night. Hopefully, I can still hear you. That's the only thing is I'm not sure if because what I unplugged was the mic. It's either the mic, the monitor, or the webcam. Which
Uh-oh.
one will and the keep in mind the monitor also charges the laptop, but it is totally charged. So maybe that should go and I should just not be able to look at myself.
Are
Versus
you using your Mac?
mhm.
God, I hate Macs.
No, here this is what the I have one of these,
Oh
but
yeah.
anything I plug into this, like this is the Ethernet, anything I plug into this, the mic, the webcam, it won't work.
Yeah, you need to get one of those that is powered, that has its own power source, so that all of those USB
Yeah.
ports are actually powered.
I need to find one that also has this old school Ethernet. Like this is kind of an older thing. And so a lot of them don't have that. I'll do a search. Or if any of you know of one,
You know,
send me a
just
link.
for what it's worth, we've
We
got
caught up.
Goodkin here today, which is super
Yeah.
exciting. We are
It
thrilled to
is
have her back on the show.
we
For some
are.
reason, I'm still having audio issues, so I'm going to fiddle with that. Dana's going to fiddle with her thing, and then we're going to bring Kerala onto the show because she's amazing, and we are super excited to talk to her. Um, but for right now, let me see if I can figure out my audio issues while Dana fiddles with her Ethernet. This is what you're
Yeah,
here for, everybody.
right? This is so weird, Lawrence. I'm opening actually let me try opening it in Firefox instead. Every time I open the
Hopefully,
chat,
this
I'm
is better. I just found a setting that allowed me to turn my mic gain way up.
oh,
Uh,
you do sound better.
does it sound louder? Okay, great.
To me, it does. I'm finally in the chat here. Hi, all. Boy, Lawrence, I thought we were going to have some like really brainy, wise words of advice for everybody if we haven't lost our entire audience.
I mean, right,
Technical
seriously, who wants
issues.
to hang out and listen to two Gen X folks have technical difficulties?
Right? Oh my God. What's so crazy too is I did a whole test live last night, made sure everything was working. Um, everything is most definitely not working as intended, but the best laid intentions. So I'm going to put, let's see, the chat is going to go down here. I feel like though, Lawrence, as we've been talking, have we caught up?
Maybe. I think I fixed my audio issue, and you
I
don't
think
feel
you
so
have.
laggy to me anymore. So maybe we're good. You know what? Let's just bring Corella on and say hello and try
Let's
to
do
get
it
this
because
show on the road.
let's try hard things.
Yes, let's try
Ah,
hard things like actually proceeding with the plan. Corella Goodkin, hello and welcome back to the show.
Thanks so much for having me back. I really appreciate it. It's Kerala, just FYI.
Oh God, I'm sorry. I'm
That
sorry. I
is
don't know.
fine. Reading it is very confusing. Hearing it even more confusing. But yeah, I tell people Kerala.
Kerala. And I
Yes.
I've
should remember this, right? Because your parents named you after the state in India that they were really fond of. Isn't that right?
Yes. Yes, and I think on the last show I referred to them as my hippie parents, and my mother has requested that I retract that. Um,
oh,
not
mom.
I think they qualify, but she wanted to clarify they weren't traveling around the world looking for drugs and LSD trips. That they were in a true cultural immersion experience. So just want to shout out
Nice.
to my
All right.
mom there.
Oh,
Mom
you
and dad,
gotta.
not hippies, but definitely fell in love with India while they were there, so much so that your name, Kerala, is the name of the state or the province, right? That they,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
That's so
that's
amazing. Well, thanks for coming back on the show, and thank you for correcting me. Names are important, and I really hate getting them wrong, so
Oh,
I
so do
really
I.
appreciate
I'm
that.
super sensitive to it, so I try to correct people sooner rather than later, so it doesn't get awkward. I
Yeah,
did have
yeah,
a
for sure.
yeah.
we appreciate that. To me, that just means we waited a little too long to have you come back because we're Gen X. Our memories only last so long,
Right.
and then we're like, actually, I'm gonna not even disparage us for age. I'm gonna say there's so many things flooding the zone that, like an Inside Out, as she gets older and they start dumping out core memories. I feel like sometimes that happens. Of like, wow, are we all processing a lot every day?
Absolutely.
and and every year I am really excited to talk to you about your most recent essay, The Year I Did Hard Things. But before we jump in and get going, why don't we just do kind of a quick intro in case there are folks in the chat who don't have the pleasure of knowing you and your writing yet. Tell us about who you are and what you're doing here on Substack.
Sure. Great question. Sometimes I wonder that myself. I started writing online when I was 40. Actually, the day I turned 40, I took a day off of work and I wrote a piece and I posted it on Medium. And it was the first thing I had written and shared for about 10 years, which not uncoincidentally coincided with having my first child 10 years prior. And it just inspired
Funny
me
how that
to,
works.
yes. It just inspired me to return. Writing has always been very integral to my life and a really important way for me to process the world. And if you can, well, I turned 40 in the year 2020. So as you can recall, there were a few things going on that year and there was a lot to process. I am still somewhat on Medium, but mostly on Substack. There was a great migration from Medium to Substack. And let's see, I think I've been on
Oh,
this
yes.
platform about 3 years now. I wasn't super active for about a year, just sort of exploring it. But my Substack's called Mom Interrupted. And the idea is that I'm using personal stories to try to interrupt narratives around motherhood, around being a worker in today's late stage capitalist society, what it means to be a wife or not, as I no longer am one, and just sort of deconstructing a lot of narratives that I've been fed throughout my life and exploring how to build a different life.
Carola, that was beautiful. And you have an excellent elevator pitch, an excellent way of
Right.
like summarizing the disparate parts into a cohesive whole that Lawrence and I really need to work up for the work that we're doing. So
Right.
I
Our
admire.
elevator pitch needs to be more than just our things aren't working and we don't know why.
Right. And we're
Well,
like best friends and we talk every day and everybody's here and it's really fun. No, that was
that sounds
beautifully.
great to me.
Yes, thank you. Beautifully stated. And 2025 was a big year for you. That's the year that your divorce finalized.
Mm-hmm.
I remember reading about it. I also am a medium. I was going to say expat. Yeah, we'll say expat. That's a better
Yes,
word. I am
I like
still publishing. I am still publishing there as well, and it's mercurial. It like the great exodus happened in early 2025, right when they were like, just kidding on all those payments and everything. We were like, we're mostly rolling back a lot of them.
yeah.
I don't know about you, but sometime midway through the year, I was like, oh, actually, they still are boosting things and they can still earn. But boy, it's so erratic. We should have you on another day just to talk about like gaming the system, how to make something succeed on Medium. I'm only halfway there.
Yeah.
But as a
It's
result, we're
very,
all here.
very unreliable. Sometimes I'll
Really,
have a great month and sometimes not. And I like the, I mean, I have a lot to say about Substack's payment model, but I like the
yes,
consistency at least.
yes. At least Substack knows who it is. It's probably
Yeah.
going to change a bit this year, I've heard, but it won't be the same sorts of roller coasters day to day that Medium seems to be. But I fell in love with your writing on Medium, and when we were launching the show, you were like one of my like, oh my God, I would dream of having an essayist like Carol on our show. So it's so great to have you here a second time. It's wonderful to read your work, and I would love to talk to you about your essay, The Year I Did Hard Things, which, Karen, thank you. I saw that you shared it in the chat, and that's fabulous. I think 2025 was a year we all did a lot of hard things as a country and as individuals. What I love about your essay, I'm going to see if I can find this part. While I'm looking, I will say, I love that your hard things are not like I summited a mountain and I ran a marathon. They're interpersonal attributes. They're not things that our society typically thinks of when they think of hard things. Can you talk a bit about the genesis of this story and how you came to what your hard things were?
Great question.
Thanks.
So, as I noted in the piece, I am generally late to any online trend if I participate in it or know about it at all. My kids are constantly telling me about things I've missed.
Yeah.
So I had seen kind of all these versions of ta-da lists floating around Substack, year-end ta-da lists. And I liked that. We're such an achievement-oriented culture where we're always focused on the next goal, the next mountain we want to summit. And I like the idea of just taking some time to celebrate what went well in the last year and what we were proud of. And then I was thinking over my year and I was like, well, I didn't summit any mountains. It felt like I summited a few, but
Yeah.
I'm involved in a lot of very squishy projects that don't necessarily have a defined beginning, middle, or end. I'm really focused on, I call it the three C's as care, community, and connection. I just feel like those are the things at the heart of life. And no matter what we accomplish as professionals, or no matter how many subscribers I get on Substack, my life is just not going to have much meaning if I don't practice those three things in my everyday life. But they're also hard to do. They're hard to make time for. Or we certainly do not live in a society that particularly prioritizes any of those. And just the day-to-day grind can really get in the way of that. As a parent now, I feel like I spend about 90% of my time just driving my kids places. And, on the flip side, the car is a great place to, I think you wrote about this, Dana, the car is a great place to have conversations with my kids. So it's like I flipped that in my head. I'm like, oh, okay, I have this like evening unpaid Uber shift, but it's an opportunity to talk to my kids and connect with them. So
Evening unpaid Uber shift. I have to underline. If we were on Medium, I would highlight it and probably put a comment like
I make
relatable.
references to that a lot because literally it's 4 days a week during the week and then a lot of weekend stuff. So yeah, it's it's real.
Yeah. I found this short paragraph of yours, and I would love to just read this back to you, if that's not weird.
Go for it.
You wrote, "This year, though, it was less about bemoaning the crazy and more about how I grew through it. It was less about how I reacted and more about how I proactively deconstructed it to get closer to living my truth." I love that. And also, in case this makes you feel any better, I have not heard of a to-do list until I read your story. Like,
Okay,
I've seen a lot
good.
of your end things, but what is a to-do list? Is it just like, I did this, and is it more the like I summited the mountain and yeah.
It's different from a to-do list. You know, we all have those. I usually have about 4 concurrently at any given time. So it's less about setting I mean, I don't have anything against setting intentions and thinking about the year ahead, but it's more about, especially I think as mothers, it can be hard. Motherhood does not always feel super achievement or accomplishment oriented. It's a lot of making appointments and buying socks and stuff that's a little hard to celebrate. So it's a way to give us some room to think back on the year and think about what we did that we're proud of.
I love
That
that.
makes
And
it,
the funny thing is, when I think of the people in my life who have accomplished the most, it's always moms, right? And often single moms,
oh, Lawrence.
because I feel like the people in this world who figure out how to prioritize and project manage and actually get shit done are moms because they have to because their entire human lives depended upon them. So I get that it is often made up of small things that don't get a lot of celebration, but also a lot of the moms that I know have done some of the most incredible things, of all the people in my life because they know how to get shit done.
Appreciate that. And yes, I often say if you need something done, ask a busy person.
Right.
Not that I'm no longer trying to take pride in how busy I am. If anything, I'd like to take as much as I can off my plate. But yes, there are some skills learned through necessity of just how to manage time for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Carola, I
And
love that one of the things in your list was like unrepentantly doing things on your own. And there's that
Hmm.
great scene where you're like sitting, I think, in like a Longhorn Steakhouse or something, and you're like, I
yes.
hope if anyone is pitying me right now, they like, you didn't say it like this, but like, shut the fuck up and keep it to yourself. I so vibe with that. It's hard to like go out in the world and do like social things as a single person. There's
Hmm.
definitely that like am I being how am I being perceived by people around me? What did that how did you get to that place and what was it like to kind of get to that place of giving no fucks?
It's a great question. You know, part of it just seemed to happen naturally. Back when I was on Medium, and this story might have been cross-posted to Substack at some point, but I wrote a story called "I'm a 40-year-old woman and I give zero fucks," because I just like realized one day that all these things I used to care about, I was caring about less and less. And it doesn't mean I'm never self conscious or feel insecure or anything like that. But I don't know. I spent so much of my 30s trying to live up to expectations. Am I a good enough mom? Am I I'm a good enough wife? Am I I did not feel like I was very respected or recognized professionally during that time, and just sort of treading water, but still trying to be a good employee and a good worker. And it's not that obviously I still want to be a good mom, but my the way that I hold myself to those standards is different. The standards have evolved for me. I've recognized that the standards I was holding myself to are not necessarily helpful. They weren't necessarily helpful to my kids. And I think there's just this freedom that comes with middle age. I don't know if you guys have experienced that,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's just kind of like, I just don't care as much about the social judgment, and I'm really proactively questioning that at every turn. How people are judging me, and I just it's been this enormous relief to just feel like I can navigate the world as an autonomous human being and do things I enjoy doing, and just really care a lot less about what the people around me are thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Including eating a delicious steak on Christmas Eve, right? Christmas Eve
Yes.
at a Longhorn Steakhouse. Did I get that?
Yes, that was incredibly random, but it was a very enjoyable evening.
I could feel you at that bar. I have done similar things, and sometimes my secret is that, it's both my worry and my secret is that sometimes I prefer going out just me because I can come and go when I want to. Like I love to sing karaoke, and there's a couple places near where I live that I kind of feel like my living room at this point because I've popped in and out enough over the years. And I almost prefer going by myself because as soon as I'm ready to leave, I'm like, and I'm done. Bye. Where if you go with people, you have to be like, you're getting about ready. And they're like, no, I'm flirting with this guy. Oh, they're rarely flirting these days, but I'm talking to somebody or I have another song in the queue, and I'll just be like, oh, I should have taken my own car.
So well, I am not worked up to doing karaoke alone, but that is awesome. Maybe I'll put that on my goal list for this year, but I can totally relate. And just all the logistics of planning the evening and everything. It's like,
exactly.
If I want to just go out and grab a beer, I can do that. I don't have to text anyone, or it's wonderful freedom.
Yeah, it's great.
It's a hard thing and a liberating thing. And I apologize, you all can probably hear my dog barking upstairs. I'm going to mute while Lawrence asks a question.
Oh, yeah. Well, so Carola, one of the things that you didn't put on the list that is an accomplishment is you recently hit #1 on the bestseller list on Substack, which is a huge deal. Tell us about that. I mean, like, did you throw yourself a little party? I feel like if I ever hit #1 on the bestsellers for any category, I would like issue a press release or something.
It was very exciting. That was one of my goals for last year. But those goals are always funny, right? Like, I was really excited for a few days, and then I'm like, I want the next check mark. I want that orange one that's all filled in. So
right.
it's writing online has been an interesting journey for me because I just always want more, and it's not necessarily dictated by. Right now, I have a wonderful community of readers, and I get lovely comments about some of the stories I'm writing, just helping them to see things from a new perspective or help them through a tough time. And I'm like, that's the point, right? Like, it doesn't matter if I have 5,000 or 10,000 subscribers. So I'm really trying to celebrate the wins, absolutely. And also not get too hung up on that next goal. I've really actually taken a break from looking at my stats a lot, and just really focusing on writing the things that are on my heart and mind and hoping that they resonate. I have varying degrees of success with that. I'm still definitely chasing that external validation sometimes, and I'm excited if a story gets more likes than my other ones. So it's they make it pretty hard to ignore the notifications and the stats, but that is something I'm working on.
Yeah.
Right.
So a lot of people in the chat are asking, like, how did you do it? Like, do you have any sense for kind of what it took to get there? And like, are there tips or tricks or anything that you could share for people who are still very hung up on goal attainment?
Which, no shade to you guys, I totally understand.
No shade, no shame.
I still am myself to some degree. I would say one thing I'm very good at is being disciplined about writing and being relatively consistent. I don't actually write that much. I have a day job. I have 2 kids.
Same.
I'm a single mom, so I really try to be realistic about what I can do. I do 2 free longer form essays a month, and then I do 2 for my paid subscribers that I call them interruptions. They're shorter reflections on interrupting, social narratives, and I'm just pretty consistent about that. I am pretty good about I have every other Friday off from my day job, so that's my writing day.
Nice.
And then I just
Oh, I
snatch time
love that.
here and there where I can. But having that consistent time to focus on it is really helpful for me. Um, I actually have not been very active on Substack lately, which probably isn't good advice. I mean, it's been kind of good for my mental health. I struggle with social media, and I would say Substack is a social media platform these days, and
Oh, absolutely.
For
yeah,
sure.
and it's a wonderful, mostly a wonderful community of people. At least the folks whose posts I'm seeing.
Yes.
um,
There's a
but
whole dark side. If you have an
yes,
article cross to
yeah,
the dark side, and I call that,
whenever,
jumping the wall, then you're like, oof.
yeah, whenever one of my stories goes viral, it is a double-edged sword. It's like, oh wow, it means it's reaching all those people who don't like what I have to say. And
Right, right.
that's a whole other thing for sure.
Right.
But yeah, I think part of attaining that goal this year was not focusing too much on it, and really focusing on my messaging and what I wanted to say and what I wanted to communicate. It took a while too. I mean, like I said, I haven't been on Substack since 2020, but it's been quite a few years. There are some people who join this platform and just take off. That is not me. I would say my growth has been consistent, but relatively slow, and certainly well earned. It's a lot of stories I have in my archive.
A
Yeah.
slow burn, we'll call that. Was there a particular story that super resonated, that helped catapult you to it was number one in parenting,
Mm-hmm.
which is a pretty competitive category like that. That was, I saw that and I cheered for you. I sent it to
Oh, thank
Lawrence.
you.
She sent me a
Carola's
screenshot.
doing,
Dana sent me a
Aw.
screenshot, Carola.
she
She
did.
was like, "Oh my God, look!
That's so sweet.
Look, one of ours doing good.
You had one of
I
our
kind of get,
friends. She did
I
it."
get like that with I have that mom instinct of like, yay, one of our guests went on to do good things. But did particular story, or was it just that consistent presence over time? Do you have a feel for that?
It's a good question. And I can't even remember what story I had around the time that happened. But I will say that I did do one final push. I was very close to that number you need to hit to become a bestseller, and I was getting impatient. So I did do one. I sent out a message to all my engaged subscribers. The folks that had a 4 or 5 star rating, or it might have just been 5 star, which just means they open and read most of my stuff. And I also did a little experiment. I was like, do people who aren't paying for my writing, is it because they don't want to take out their wallet, or because they really don't want to pay $50 a year? And I get that. I mean, I think the Substack payment model worked really well when there weren't that many people on Substack, and there were just kind of these bigger names that folks really wanted to follow and pay for. But it has become so flooded lately. I mean, if I paid for everyone that I wanted to support, I would have no money left. So yeah, my experiment was just like, I'll just try offering a very generous discount and just see the price point at which people are willing to pull out their wallets to support my stuff. And I was actually pretty blown away by the results. I was like, oh, people do want to support and pay. They just, they can't afford another $50 for another writer on Substack. So that kind of helped catapult me over that line there.
I'm sorry I got distracted for a moment because our buddy Melissa Corrigan jumped into the chat to tell us some breaking news, which is that a Washington Post reporter just had the FBI at her house, and they seized her phone and her Garmin watch because she would not reveal her source. That is terrifying. That is crazy.
Wow.
Uh-oh. And Dana, I think maybe Dana froze.
Yes, she's been moving intermittently.
Uh-oh. All right, Dana, come back when you can. We miss you. We love you. Um, well, Carla, maybe kind of veering into darker territory, but
Mhm.
it's been a particularly rough week and a half with everything that's happened in Minneapolis. Um, I'm curious, like obviously we were all horrified by that. I'm not trying to program your reality, but I suspect that you were also horrified as a mom.
Absolutely, yes.
How did you talk to your kids about it? How did you talk to your kids about it? Like how are you processing it and kind of coming to terms with sort of I don't know, what feels like a dystopian reality that we're all confronting?
It's a really good question, and it's something I continually grapple with. I had a really interesting conversation with my son. He's 10, and they watch a 15-minute or maybe a 10-minute CNN program in
Oh
class
yeah.
every day.
Yeah, CNN one
And
or something, I think.
yeah,
And yeah.
and he was telling me some of the news stories. This was back in November. Who knows what was going on back then? Very hard to keep track. And he said, "Mom, I don't like how the news makes me feel. It makes
Ooh.
me feel really worried about everything and really anxious." And I told him I am behind him 100%. I wrote about this. I have very much struggled with how to keep up with the news, how to stay informed without just completely stressing myself out about a lot of things that aren't really within my control. um, and I don't always know how to talk to my kids about the news. Back in 2020, when I first started writing, there were all these Black Lives Matter protests in my hometown of Portland that were getting a lot of national attention. I have biracial children. My ex-husband was formerly incarcerated, and has had some pretty intense run-ins with the police himself. So some personal perspective there. That was a hard summer, and at the time, my kids were 5 and 9. So knowing how to talk to them. My daughter at one point asked, "Dada, will the police kill you too, because you're
Oh my
brown?"
God.
Oh
Oh
my
my
God.
God.
Yeah. So, long story short, it's something I still grapple with. I don't want every dinner time conversation to be dominated by the breaking news of the day, and I do want to have avenues for conversation about some of this really hard stuff.
Yeah.
I will say that I'm super proud of my son's school. He goes to a public school, but it's designated as a social justice school, and he said they had a rally and a vigil at school. They're very proactive about addressing at school some of the stuff that's going on. I asked my daughter, who's in middle school, if there was any conversation about it, and she's like, "Oh, no, they don't care about all that. Like they just want us to learn math and
Mm.
Spanish." So, okay, um, but yeah, I try to bring things up and sort of process with them. I am focused a lot more, as I talked about, and I wrote a story called "What Happened When I Stopped Consuming National News." It's not that I never consume national news, but I've tried to be very intentional about it. So
Right.
I do try to pay a lot more attention to what's going on locally, partially because there's a lot more good news that gets reported on locally, and there's bad news that happens in my hometown and my home state as well. But I really appreciate the mix, and I appreciate being able to talk about, hey, these protesters showed up here and look at what's changing as a result, or there's this legislation that this nonprofit we all volunteered for introduced, and looks like it's going to pass, and that, people are going to get access to free preschool now. So just kind of showing them that good things can happen when people come together locally and build community.
Yeah. Dana, you're
Amazing.
back.
I am back. I ultimately just I decided to unplug the monitor / charger and plug in my Ethernet. Even though I have the Wi-Fi booster down here, it's clearly not reliable. So my
Yeah.
apologies. And I missed all the good stuff. I was like, Carolyn, tell me about your success. And I heard like, uh, uh, and then I heard something about Melissa Corrigan. Sorry to make there be a repeat. Did the FBI show up at her house?
Not Melissa's. No, there's a
Oh,
Washington Post reporter. Melissa
okay.
posted in the chat the breaking news
Okay.
that a Washington Post reporter was raided by the FBI,
Oh my
and they
God.
seized her phone and her Garmin watch because she, the reporter, would not reveal a source. So, just the contravention of literally everything we understand about the Fourth Estate's protections in American
Yeah.
democracy.
And that's me blowing in a metaphorical paper bag because I don't know about you guys, since the murder of Renee Good, like I have a pit in my stomach that is growing. That really felt like like next level. And I'm like bated breath, just waiting to see if there are no consequences. I don't know how we go on. I'm sorry to make this all about the national news and the tragedies going on now, but hearing that is like another like you can't do that
Right.
screaming in my head, right? Like, and to bring it back to your conversation, the parts that I did catch, Carla, of like not flooding our kids with terrible news and also helping them be aware of what's happening. Isn't that one of the hardest balances about parenting right now? Like,
Yeah.
It's excruciating. I am actually going to be going live with Oceana Teffenhart later today to talk about parenting in the era of Trump. She asked me to come on air, and I have a story going live on Blue Amp Media that's related to that. Of like, how do you? I think my kids are a little older than yours, but my eldest is about to go to college. And like that's the story that's coming out at 11:30 my time, our time, Carolyn. 2:30 Lawrence's time.
Check it out.
It's like
No, it's 11:30 my time. It's
oh
actually out in title testing right now.
oh
Surprise.
thwarted by the time zones. Oh, I'm thrilled to hear that, Lawrence. Thank you. So it's about to. Some of you may be seeing it already. Yeah, I am. Like parenting and politics to me are so intertwined because, well. I weep for what our kids are inheriting. I'm not even sure. I can't process it, and I can process it. What I'm having a hard time processing is how to launch them. Right? Remind me how old your kids are. I feel like they're like you said
They're
middle school.
10 and 14, and then a 26-year-old stepson.
Gotcha. So you've been through this already, but in different times with your stepson.
Yes, and he he veered off into some online territory in his later teenage years. That was very difficult on us.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and his mother and her family have very different politics than I do. So that was its own challenge for sure. And just thinking. I mean, it's not just the news, but it's these corners of the internet that all have their own perspectives on the news and who's to blame, and it's with older children, just I mean, this is a slightly separate topic, but just the whole screen time and figuring out how to have any degree of control over their access to very dark and disturbing corners of the internet. It's its whole own thing, but it's not just about what's actually happening. It's about how that's being processed and where our children are getting their information. And as they get older, we have less and less control over that. And that's a whole other challenge as well.
It truly is. I don't know that. Have you written about that? I don't think I've read anything of yours about that. And no blame if you're not. It's a real fine line to know where your story ends and your child's story begins.
Yeah, well, I did write a piece, I think last fall, called Mom versus Society. And that was really about how, especially as our kids get older, when
Mhm.
it's super stressful to have younger kids in a lot of ways. There's just a lot to do.
Yeah.
It's very physical. You have to give them a bath. You have to feed them. You have to get them dressed. And that's its whole source of stress. As they get older, it's a lot more about helping them process the reality that they're finding themselves in. And I mean, especially I saw this so much with my daughter. Fifth grade was a very difficult and challenging year, but I see that as the year when she sort of looked around and figured out that the world really sucks. It was like, why did my parents bring me into this place?
Oh,
And just so you know, there's a lot of anger and angst and confusion, and all of it completely
honey.
understandable. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I realized I just feel like my role as a parent, besides unpaid Uber driver, is to sort of undo all the damage that society is doing. And that, wow, what would it look like if we lived in a society that actually cared about our children, but where the values that they were absorbing from broader society actually matched mine? Because that's just, it's not only that they don't match, it's not just about a mismatch, it's like they're actively detrimental to my children's health and well-being.
Right.
And I feel like my role is to just try to undo a lot of that. So it plays into screen time, and that here I am, you know, one person basically waging my own personal war against big tech. All this money and research has gone into how do we addict people, how do we get them hooked? And I'm over here like, oh, I'll try to set a screen time limit that probably isn't going to work because they never work. So it's just, I feel like I'm just constantly in this battle against these huge forces. And that's partially also why I'm doing so much focus on immediate community. I just want to show them you can build and carve out your own beautiful life, even in this broader shit show. Like it is possible. And that goes back to the relationships that we have and the connections, you know, the care, connection, and community.
Mm-hmm.
Some people might call it a bubble. Sure, if that's what you want to call it. But to me, I'm just like, this is my pocket of joy and beauty and connection within this broader context that is just, I don't even know how to describe it. All the negative words.
Right.
You know, you just said something that really sort of blew my mind in a low-key way, because I'd never thought of it this way before, that if people are calling the way that you're raising your kids and protecting your kids a bubble, it's kind of gaslighting and you know, like they're trying to shame you for like what could be more important than protecting your children and making sure that they sort of get to view the world in the way that, you know, you think they should be able to view the world and approach the world and get introduced to things. And outside people calling that a bubble, like fuck those people. Like for some reason I'd never really
Yes.
truly thought of it that way before, but it's kind of like, how dare you, you know, try to shame me for actually doing my job correctly.
Yeah, and it's funny because I mean, people have a lot of thoughts and feelings about overprotective parents, including me. But I don't feel like I'm overprotective in the way that you know, when we talk about helicopter parenting, I would certainly not identify as a helicopter parent. I actually am very intentional about granting my kids a lot of independence. They navigate the world on their own a lot. I actually feel like I've created my like 1980s bubble on my blog. You guys can relate to this as Gen X. But I have there's all these neighborhood boys that come over and knock on the door. I feel like there's about 5 kids in my living room at any given time on a weekday afternoon. My son goes out with them and they bike to the store and get candy, and it's I am very, very cognizant of how important it is for them to build real life skills. But yeah, the protection comes in more with just the messaging from society. You know, the messaging that my daughter gets about how she should look and You know, how she has this gorgeous hair, and she wants it to be straight. She wants to be able to flip it over her shoulder because that's beautiful. You know, just like the messages girls get and the messages my son is getting about, you know, how to navigate the world as a boy or a man, and how to, you know, kind of present this front. And yeah, there's gendered messages, and just so much. So I'm not trying to shield them. I just want them, I want them to also be actively deconstructing these things that are getting thrown at them. And I wish, I wish parenting just felt more coherent and seamless, that when I sent my kids out there, I could have faith that whatever they were getting out there was somewhat reflective of what I'm trying to impart in our home. And that is certainly not usually the case.
Right.
Lawrence, I love that you just had that aha moment. And I think the simple way of stating that is, no matter what you do as a parent, and especially as a mom, people are going to have something not great to say about it.
Oh, yes.
There's no way to win, because if you just give them unfettered access to everything, it's like you're not doing, you know, you're being too permissive.
Permissive, yes.
And if you try to be more disciplinarian, then you're, you know, too much of a helicopter, you're too overprotective. There is no proper way to do it. And your kids are also going to fight you along the way.
Oh, yes.
And you're always going to have doubts about how you're doing it. So like,
oh, yes.
It is every possible angle, and every day you are making micro decisions. Sorry, you know this. I don't want to get too like, it's the hardest job in the world. But yeah, there is a lot of pressure internally and externally, and from your kids. So,
Yeah.
and that is, I'm going to tie that back to your essay for one last part, that I really loved item number 2 of in the year I did hard things. You tore down the happy nuclear family facade. This also ties back to the whole like other side of the fence of Substack coming down on you, because you mentioned how people criticize you for glorifying divorce, I think was the word used. Can you talk a bit about, I've read your work and I am divorced myself. I don't read glory in it, but can you talk a bit about what it meant what it means, because it's still happening, to tear down the nuclear family facade, and how that, where that begins and where glorifying divorce, like where is the space between those two things?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there is mostly men, but not all. I've certainly gotten pushback from women as well around casting divorce in a positive light, meaning that I want to break up all families, and that I just see divorce as this thing that everyone should just go and do because it's so fun, right? I mean, Lawrence, you've been divorced too. Like, there's nothing fun about divorce. It sucks. I mean, the actual process just sucks. So that was a huge win for me last year, just to not that there haven't been other challenges since then, but just to be done with that legal process. But I don't know. I mean, talking about the standards I'm holding myself to as a parent, I have found single parenting, and I recognize my kids are older. This would be very different if they were, if I had a toddler and a preschooler. I would be incredibly exhausted as a single parent. But with kids who have a little more autonomy and are able to dress themselves and feed themselves, I have found my post-divorce life to just be so liberating. And so much of that is just releasing myself from this nuclear family structure that I think can work. But having that be the norm that we're all aspiring to is just, it doesn't work so often. And it is the expectations embedded in it, especially in heterosexual marriages with children. I feel like that's that's where the gender roles get the most codified.
Right.
And there's just like the most to do, right? Like when you're navigating parenthood on top of marriage and all the other things, that all the other expectations that come with being a wife and mother. So no, I'm not glorifying divorce itself, and I'm not recommending that everybody go get divorced. I do think there are more people who could consider it. I think that it feels so impossible. I mean, you know, it's not like it never crossed my mind before I asked for a separation, but it just, I mean, even just from a logistical standpoint, like where does the other person live? How do we afford that? You know, there's so much that seems so impossible. And when you're caught up in that daily grind of just trying to keep up with it all and do the parenting, like introducing that other layer on top of it, it is a tall order.
Yes.
But I do think that we often cast divorce in a very negative light. And I do believe that that decision deserves to be respected at the very least, and sometimes celebrated. For me, it has, you know, I've said it's not just a breakup. It's not just an uncoupling. It's not just a legal agreement. It's not a financial settlement. It's all those things for sure. But for me, it's been an opportunity to just start this new chapter of my life. My Substack's called Mom Interrupted, and I've been saying divorce for me has been the ultimate interruption. I really felt like I was just kind of getting through each day for so many years, and it has just provided me an opportunity to really examine my life and figure out what I want to do differently and what I feel empowered to do differently. I've showed up for my kids so much better, not having to navigate that role of wife and mother and just be able to focus on being a mom. My relationship with my kids has improved dramatically over the last year. Not to say it's never challenging, but I just I say in the piece that I sort of feel condemned by society as a divorced single mom. That's not what I'm supposed to be, right? You know, I'm not the good wife and mom anymore. But there's so much freedom in that. You know, we talked about giving zero fucks. I'm like, okay, well, you know, they're going to frown on me. So now I can just focus on building the life that I want. And that's been a true gift for me.
You know, Lawrence, sorry.
Go ahead, Dana.
I'm remembering a conversation we had, Lawrence, when my marriage ended. And this goes back many years. My kids were very small. And I'm going to paraphrase this because I can't quite remember, and I'm hoping you do, that you compared it to being queer in a bit somehow, of like, it is hard to opt to do something that goes against the norms of society, and that you're bucking something, a life path that our culture expects. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, even if it's the right decision for you, for your kids, for all of the reasons, you will still be at odds with what you're supposed to be doing. Right. And that just leads to an entire life trajectory that's, I'm using the word queer in the old-fashioned sense, not as in gay, but as in off.
Right.
Do you remember this conversation, Lawrence?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I don't remember the specific words either, but, you know, just the idea that, you know, you're choosing something for yourself first that goes against social programming. Mm-hmm. And so you're going to get this built-in resistance, and life may be harder, but it's probably going to be better because you get to define your own path. And
that's what you
know?
Said.
Yes.
Yeah.
And very few people will say congratulations or applaud you for doing it, but I will. Congratulations on making a really hard decision. And
and I've also found, you know, going back to care, connection, and community, that I've been able to find my people, that I'm not, you know, gosh, my social life for so long was like playground, sidelines, small talk. And it wasn't, you know, I liked a lot of the parents I was meeting, but it just felt so superficial. I ran into a woman who's a parent on one of my daughter's sports teams at Trader Joe's, and she did not she's a single mom and she's widowed. And she did not know about my divorce, and we were just talking. We were standing by the milk in Trader Joe's and had this super deep, like 25-minute conversation about motherhood and social stigmas. And I'm just like, I feel like I can go deep with people who are on a similar version of my journey, and I just feel this immediate sense of kinship and connection, and it's really helped to deepen my friendships.
Yeah, no, it's true. You end up kind of losing the superficial connections but discovering deeper connections with people who've had to kind of tread a similar path to yours. And it's almost like you can sort of recognize each other now, like you see someone and you're like, oh, I get it. We're on the same path.
Absolutely.
And I suspect you are going to become a beacon at your kids' schools for other parents going through similar things. I know that has happened to me over the years. I've had so many, mostly moms, come up to me and be like, so how did you guys do it? I hope that your relationship with your ex can get to a peaceful, like, co-parenting space. It definitely makes things easier. But if it doesn't, then it's easier to do it on your own. So
yeah, we'll see about that. I'm rooting for him, and there's not a lot of healing going on that side of the equation yet. So we'll see how that develops. But I think in the meantime, I have so much more serenity and peace of mind. So I'm just keeping that front and center. And yes, this has all been hard on my kids. I'm not going to gloss that over, but definitely so much better than where we were all at a few years ago. So I'm hoping that we can all weather the storms together.
Yeah, you talk about in your piece, I know we're coming right up on time, but you talked about in your piece that longitudinal study that showed that children of divorce actually had decent outcomes, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've been able to track this, but a lot of people in the chat have said, oh my God, my parents getting divorced was the best thing that ever happened to us. Or like, thank God they had such a toxic relationship that, it was so much better after. So I think, there are a lot of people, we live in a society now where generations of people have grown up successfully out of divorced households.
Yes.
And can vouch that, if it's a particularly toxic and abusive or, verbally or, mentally abusive situation, my God, it is better to be out of that situation. Like, how could it not be?
Absolutely. And I'm just happy that my kids are seeing this version of me, that I'm able to advocate for them and advocate for myself. And that's such a healthier example to be setting than the example I was setting before, which was this very anxious mediator and peacekeeper who was trying to toe the line and not necessarily always taking their best interests into account or feeling like I couldn't. So I'm much more proud of how I'm showing up for myself and my kids these days.
Yeah, nice.
Good. I wish you the best in 2026. May it continue to be a year of doing hard things, and may we find joy in doing those hard things.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
It has been so wonderful having you on the show. Keep writing. Everyone here, like, if you're not already subscribed, go subscribe. Your work is just wonderful. Every time you publish something, I'm like, gotta go read that.
Well, thank you so much. And I've really enjoyed both our conversations.
Same.
Awesome. Thanks for being here. I can't believe we're at the top of the hour already, but
here we are.
Carola, please come back anytime. We'd love to have you back. And thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us this morning.
Wonderful. Yes. Thank you. Take care.
Tomorrow we've got Jen Budd joining us. That's going to be an intense, amazing conversation. So please come back for the Daily Whatever show. We love you, mean it. We'll see you tomorrow.
Love you, mean it. Bye.
Bye. Mwah. Mwah.